So because I spoke on the top 10 small forwards in the league like a week ago or whatever, some of those guys I don't really feel like talking about again. A couple of them being Brandon Ingram and Andrew Wiggins was mentioned in that video. Jason Tatum, Otto Porter as well. Don't really feel like addressing them in this video, so remember that as you see some of these names. We're going to start with Kyle Anderson. A move that I don't think got too much attention was him signing with the Grizzlies. And it's one that I'm actually pretty interested in because Anderson was quietly pretty good for the Spurs in a small role where he would be an occasional ball handler, cutter to the basket, leader of offense, again, occasionally, but also a really good defensive player. So now that he's going to the Grizzlies, he's a year better, and I'm going to assume that he's going to have more of an offensive responsibility now. What are we going to get out of Slow-Mo? He reminds me a bit of Nicholas Batum because of his position, size, and skills. Someone who can, again, make some plays for himself and teammates, go into isolations, but as his nickname would suggest, he's not always the fastest off the dribble, but sometimes it works out. And he could just be a really versatile player, you know, points, rebounds, assists, defense. So we'll see what he does for the Grizzlies. Next up, Taurean Prince, who may be approaching the Paul George style of player where his field goal percentage is not very good, but his three-pointers and his free throws still make him a pretty efficient player. Not that I believe he can be as good as Paul George, even if I do like Taurean Prince a lot. And the reason why I'm intrigued with him and why I would like to keep at least somewhat of an eye on him this season is that he may be a real scorer, because his shot making is kind of legit, especially towards the second half of last season for the Hawks, where dude was making some contested shots and he had a decent amount of confidence. Seemed like a guy at first who was just going to kind of float in offenses and he'll do what the coach tells him, and I'm sure he's still going to be that guy. But perhaps now he could force the issue a little bit more, and maybe this upcoming season, which will be his third year, is going to be the next step in all that. Perhaps he bumps himself up to 17, 18 points a game. Maybe he remains at this 15 points guy. Now, of course, the Hawks have plans for other guys to take over their offense with Trae Young, and I'm sure Kevin Huerter is going to get some time, but still, I think Taurean can find himself a place to where he can get up a few decent shots a game, more than a few. OG Anunoby, not as concerned with shooting the ball as Taurean Prince, although we can at least talk about his offense for a little bit. His three-pointer looked really good at parts of last year. I think overall he is at least an okay shooter with room to improve, but the defense is definitely the calling card with OG. And I think with him, it's you just see if he can keep on growing as a two-way player, and maybe he can be one of the best two-way players in the NBA. I mean, I don't know what he's ever going to be for creating his own offense, but if he's going to be a guy that you can't leave open from three, and then he's going to be one of the best defenders in the league, and I do think he's kind of on that path based on his rookie season, then that's still a hell of a player, right? And when you look at his size and the way he could play a few different positions, even if I'm considering him a small forward for the sake of this video, then he could just be such a valuable piece, even if you don't have to call any actual plays for him. I mean, could he be like the Raptors version of Andre Iguodala, with how good Iggy has been for Golden State? I mean, maybe. Yeah, sky's the limit for him, I would say. I don't know what his box score numbers will ever be, but his impact is going to be really good. Reggie Bullock for the Detroit Pistons was quietly one of the best role players in the NBA last season. The Pistons have struggled with finding a full-time small forward. Stanley Johnson's offense is simply not good enough. So when they went to Reggie Bullock, they found a guy who could actually play some decent defense, but then make the defense pay for leaving him open. Now, do I think he's among the best 3-and-D guys in the league? I mean, no. I would say there's definitely a ladder that he's maybe mid-tier at, but for the Pistons, simply getting a mid-tier guy in that category is a huge step up. And his advanced numbers were all pretty good, the on-off stuff was good, and the Pistons are simply a better team when he's in there. So if he cannot get injured, which is kind of a big deal for him because there have been different moments throughout his career when he's begun to get some momentum and then he's out for a couple weeks and then he loses his rotation spot. So if that cannot happen for him this season and he can be the full-time 3 for Detroit, then he could help them out a lot and he could be beloved in NBA nerd circles and on Reddit. And that's always a good thing, right? Finally, Jabari Parker. I mean, he was legit when he was healthy for the Bucks, you know? And the one thing I do fear a little bit is that he'll probably be playing small forward a lot for the Bulls because they got the Markkanen and then Wendell up front thing and also Robin Lopez playing some center. Jabari may be best at power forward, and that's what he's been playing the past couple seasons. But again, I just don't know if he's going to be able to play full-time 4 enough. So is he going to be athletic enough to beat threes off the dribble? Is he going to be able to stay in front of threes? I mean, you could just have him defend like the worst guy on the other team. I'm going to assume for most NBA teams there's someone between the point guard and the 4 spot that he can at least stay in front of. But of course offense is the main thing with him and the Bulls are hoping. But I do like the contract he got because even if he ends up not working out, the Bulls didn't commit to him long term. So it's kind of like no harm, no foul if Jabari's not able to be that source of offense. And then if he is, well, Chicago's at least, you got to hope they'd be in the running to keep him. So we'll see what Jabari gives them. The Bulls have a few guys who like to shoot the ball. Whether it results in winning, we're going to have to find out.